Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Karak with Mehrin show. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. He uses the power of storytelling, content creation, and writing to showcase some of the most inspiring stories of Filipinos here in the UAE. He's interviewed Olympic medalists to Miss Universe. He's done it all as a successful, inspiring, brilliant journalist. I'm so excited to welcome the very first Filipino to be on our show. Let me please welcome Keith Pereña.
Hey, Era, how's it going? I'm the first Filipino.
Yes, you're the first
Thank
one.
you for adding pressure on me.
No. Maybe I should have done the intro in the end.
Don't worry about it.
No, it's perfect. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
I'm so gonna wing this.
That's the point. That's literally the point. And we have some good, fresh, hot karak. I don't
Thank
think you
you.
tried it yet.
No.
Do you want to try
I
it?
am a big fan of Karak.
Oh, really?
I am, yeah.
So I need your opinion on the
This,
karak.
this is really good.
You
And
can
I'm
be
not
honest.
saying it.
You can be honest.
I'm not saying it in a just because it's on a video. I want to know who made it.
Well, I wish I could say it's me, but it's not.
Oh.
It's from this cafeteria nearby.
The cafeteria is one of the best ones.
Right? Like you can't
Yeah.
even compete. You can't compete
No.
with that.
But see, I have my biases. Like
Okay.
my bias is in Alcail Express, like because I live in Alcoz and Alcail Gate,
Uh-huh.
and Alcail Express is right around the corner.
Okay.
And I would always get their fresh milk chai. Like it, I don't know what they put in it, but it just has a creamier consistency than others.
Okay.
And I don't know whether it's me being here for 11 years that I can tell the subtleties of Kavak, or it's just my brain playing tricks
Wow,
on
so
me.
you're probably better than me then, because I like subtleties as in like what type of milk was used or what do you
Oh
mean?
no, I haven't reached that point.
Okay, almost. You're
Yeah.
not there yet. So as in like the ingredients they put in, whether they put
like,
saffron or
if they put way too much spice.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
this creamier consistency? Is this watery?
so you're on the perfect shore then, because
Pretty
we're
much.
here for
Yes.
Karak. Perfect. So
Kavak and conversations.
yeah, exactly. That should be our slogan actually.
Indeed.
So today we're just gonna be talking a lot about Filipino culture, about coming to the UAE. And you told me a story of your experience in India. I would love to talk about that
Yeah.
even more. I'm so glad it was recorded. I didn't even know it was being recorded, so that's perfect. But yeah, let's go back to when you came to the UAE, and it's been how many years?
11 years now.
11 years.
And
you've moved-
counting. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You've moved here 11 years ago. How was it like?
Oh, that was a wild story. And it happens after I finished university in the
Okay.
Philippines. So a week after sorry. So to give you context, my parents have been here since 2003.
Okay.
And for the longest time, they worked here to push me through to get me through university. So going back to my graduation day, come my graduation day, they attend, and their graduation gift to me was a plane ticket.
Oh.
Yeah, and they told me I had a week to get my affairs in order. So basically, say goodbye to friends, family, like, and pack my bags, and I flew in here, and I remember it being the most excruciating experience of my life because
Wow.
after graduating, my idea for a successful life was just I wanted to teach at a public school, and that would be the end of me. But Asian parents being Asian parents, they want what's best for you. They think they know what's best for you, and turns out they do.
Oh, you would
in,
agree.
in most cases, yeah.
Okay.
So, we flew in here and they told me to look for a job. And my very first job was I was selling ballpoint pens. You know those pens that they give for in events at trade center,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
major events, like, and then
Yeah.
it
the
says something
exhibition.
like let's say you want a Kavak Mid Mahavin merch.
Mm.
I was that guy.
Mm,
I was the one
interesting.
selling. I was the one telling. I was the one selling. Hey, we can put your brand on this microphone, on this thingamabob. And I was doing that for a year. But even before that, I had an internship with a PR company here, and that was my very first exposure to media
Mhm.
because there were cameras. Like it was the very first time I was a trade center.
Oh, the first time you're trade
Yeah, and
tennis.
it was so baffling. Like there was people from different parts of the world, and then I was trying my I was trying my best to have a fake British accent because I didn't
To
know
impress
yeah,
people?
I didn't know I was like,
Wait, why British though? Like,
because
you think that's the best accent?
that's what I heard in the couple of days I was here in Dubai.
Okay,
You know,
so you're
you
trying
know.
to copy.
So basically, my when I landed, my parents showed me around. Like this is the Burj Khalifa, this is the Burj Al Arab, this is this. You know, the Dubai. The I'm new to Dubai starter pack. Is what I call it.
Starter pack.
So
Okay.
so basically,
All the
they
good
showed
stuff.
me the motions, and then they got me this internship, at a PR company. One of their friends works there. So I was there for a month. They paid me 1,000 dirhams. Bless them, which I used to treat my family for dinner.
Cute.
And then after that, not long after that, I got my first proper job,
Mm-hmm.
which was selling pens. So I was there for a year, but then I never quite enjoyed it. Like it was just a means for me to get a visa, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And I was young, and I had so much. I was very passionate. Like I wanted to teach. I wanted to change the world. You know, when you're early in your early 20s, you want to do something
Impactful.
world changing,
Yeah.
impactful. Thank you. And I got I landed an interview with this very small sports magazine called Outdoor UAE,
Okay.
and that was my first foray into media. So they took me in as a junior editor, and what I was doing was I was contacting all these different people, and I would tell them, "Hey, do you want to contribute for this month's issue?" And at uh, at the time, like my younger self, that was the greatest job ever. I was doing what I wanted to do.
Wow.
I was meeting different people. I was writing stories. I was putting my
Perfect.
name out there, like, words by Keith Pereña, and I was like, whoa. So I was there for a year, and then uh, after that, I left that magazine, and then one of the friends I made there, she told me, "Why don't you go to the newspaper? Yeah, go to
Try out
media.
that.
I know someone there." So
Okay.
I brushed it off for 6 months, because I figured
Why? Why?
I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like, whoa, who are you to make that huge ass jump?
Mm,
And just to give context, that newspaper that she was recommending was College Times. So imagine me, young me, jumping from like a small operation to that. I mean, that's one of the two biggest newspapers in town. And who am I to be there? Like I struggled a lot with the low self esteem. I was always second guessing myself. And so I was pretty much jobless for 6 months. And then I figured, you know what? What's the worst that could happen?
let
So
me
I
try it.
applied, got the job. They put me on the internet, the web desk, which was basically we were the ones posting the news online,
Mm.
and that was a night shift.
Oh, it was a night
Yeah,
shift.
my work was from 3 p.m. to 12 midnight.
Oh, that's
And
hard.
if something happened at 12 midnight, my ass would be there until 1 a.m.
No. So it was a long night
It
shift.
was a long night shift. Like
Okay.
anything could happen. Like some new law would be announced. A plane crashes somewhere. A volcano erupts in some neck of the woods. Or like again, because that was 2016. Trump did something fun or interesting. I would be there.
So that was you taking
Yeah.
the job of
Yeah.
reporting all
And
of
it
that.
was fun. I enjoyed it. Like being in a massive newsroom. It was, it was just going from strength to strength. Like you start with a magazine, and then you go to a bigger newspaper, and that time, that I think that was 3 or so. I was there for 3 or so years. That was one of my I would consider that like a core job memory, if there is
Wow.
such a thing. Because in the editorial room, I was not relegated to just being that guy in the web department. It was easy to walk up to like another department, say go to the opinion and editorial department, and go to them and say, "Hey, I want to write about something that resonates with me a lot. Can I do it?" And they would say, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Wow. So you got to experience multiple
Yeah,
different like
yeah.
areas and I guess that was a big learning experience for you as well.
It is,
That's
it
why
is.
it's such a core memory. That's
Yeah, it
very
is.
cool.
And one of my fondest memories in my time with Kalish Times was when 2017 I went on vacation. I went to Ukraine,
Okay.
and the reason I went to Ukraine was that I wanted to go to Chernobyl. And
Okay,
it's the most
Chernobyl.
twisted thing. Like nobody says like nobody no I'm sure nobody you've never met anyone before who said, "You know what? I want to go to a
But
different country and get irradiated." Nobody. So that's what I did. And by the way, the Kalish Times didn't send me there. It was
it
my
was
own
just
bidding.
you.
It was something I
It was
wanted to do.
entirely you.
So that was
Okay.
my first. That was also my first trip solo.
Solo.
So I
Very
went there,
normal.
came back, and I told the features department editor. Her name is Niviti. She's with the National now, and she's one of my best mentors ever.
Wow.
Like she taught me how to write. I mean, part of who I am now as a writer
It's
is because of her. So I told her, "Hey, I just came back from Chernobyl. Do you want the story?" And she says, "Yeah, let's do it. I'll give you a full page." And then I just put my thoughts out there.
on your
And then
experience.
yeah, so that the newspaper, the issue where it was came out during the weekends. By Monday, the editor in chief calls me to his office, and then he tells me like, this is like the single greatest thing, one of the greatest things I've ever read.
Oh,
And
wow.
then did you really go there? I'm like, yeah.
He's like, no, you lied.
Yeah, here's the photos. And then
Wow.
I remember he told me that, you know what, you're very ambitious. If you keep it this way, I can see that you're going places.
I love that.
And at the time, it felt great, but I didn't think of it much. But looking back at it, from where I am now, he really was right on the money. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
That's such a cool, and it's such a big core memory because
it
like
is.
those words stick with you,
Yeah,
and the fact that you're telling the story, it showcases how much of an impact that actually had on your life.
yeah,
So that's so cool, and it's amazing how you went from one thing to the other
yeah,
thing. Now you're doing this, and when we were talking the other day on the phone, and you were mentioning that you wanted to be a teacher, that was one of your
yeah,
goals, and technically that is what you're doing now. You're
yeah,
teaching people, you're inspiring people, telling them stories, things they don't know. So that's literally
yeah,
you are on the path of achieving the goal that you always
yeah.
wanted to do. So that's pretty cool.
And I think that's the funny thing about life. Like you never get you might not get exactly what you want, but you're gonna be in that
Yeah,
ballpark.
true.
Now that you mentioned it, like that part about teaching, my wife and I had this very same conversation yesterday. That I always wanted to be a teacher, and look, I'm teaching people how to drive.
Oh yeah, how to
Yeah, I
drive. I
mean,
saw your
yeah,
latest
we had
video.
we had two videos, and then the second one about parking test. It was so funny because in my mind I was like, okay, I'm gonna write here that I failed this parking test 13 times just so people know that I failed and failed and failed until I got
So
it.
you are the most experienced out of all
Yeah,
of us. Yeah.
exactly. But then again, some smart ass Filipino would say like, okay, why am I gonna listen to
To
you if
you.
you failed this 13 times? And I never saw it from that lens ever. But he makes perfect sense. He does make perfect sense.
That's funny. So, I actually want to talk a little bit about the license. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, sure,
But
sure.
one thing that you mentioned in the beginning was that when you came here, it was an excruciating experience.
Yeah.
That word. So,
I wanted to go home.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people that come here, there's so many Filipinos here. It's such a big, wholesome
Yeah.
Filipino community that comes here. What do you think are the biggest challenges that they face when they're trying to adapt to the UAE?
The very first thing is that when we come here, it's always you're on the clock, and this is a universal truth. This is not just a Filipino truth. When you come here, you're probably on a visit visa or a tourist visa, and
You're
then
specifically talking about
again,
UAE when you
yeah,
come to the
you
UAE.
are on the clock. You have this amount of time to find a job,
Yeah,
and year by year, it's getting harder to find one because the job market is very competitive. And for Filipinos specifically, sorry, I think there's no specific Filipino aspect to it. Like it's a universal expat aspect. Like
of course.
so you're away from your family. You don't sometimes you don't know who you're with, and if you have family here, like I had, and it's considered like a blessing because you don't have to pay for rent. You're pretty much living with your parents. But if you don't have all of that, it becomes twice or thrice as much harder.
Of
So,
course. Yeah.
and then of course, like the universal, it's hot. It's hot. I walked out of my car and my glass is fogged up.
Yeah, even when I came in today, I was sweating like crazy.
Yeah, and I chose the wrong day to wear black.
Oh, yeah, true. You can't wear black in the
Yeah,
summer here. And Nito, she immediately turned on the AC. She was like, you look kind of dead."
yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. It is hot. So the weather in Philippines is
Yeah.
like, how's
So
it in the
weather in
summer?
Philippines is so the temperature is around the 30s. Like,
Okay.
but
Here it reaches
the
50.
difference is that here in Dubai,
Humidity.
it reaches 50, but it stings.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
Philippines, it's sticky.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
It's humid.
yeah, it's very humid. So
Okay. But here's also quite humid. It's
yeah,
like a mix.
nowadays it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
So it now it feels more like the Philippines,
Okay.
except the again temperature's
The
higher.
temperature is much higher, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you make a great point because it. I agree with you. It's not just about like the Filipino community. It's an expat that's coming here. It's migrating here. There's a lot of things that they need to consider. There's a lot of things that they need to adjust to. One thing is all of those responsibilities that you mentioned. The other thing is also the culture.
Yeah.
How different did you find the UAE culture compared to the Philippines?
I think in the Philippines it's I because I haven't been, so okay. If I'm gonna get canceled because of this statement, know that I'm taking
But you lived there, right?
educated guess. Yeah, I lived there.
Yeah, yeah,
As a university student.
yeah,
I
yeah.
never I was fortunate enough that I didn't work there.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I could gather is that in the Philippines, the hardest part is the commute.
Mm.
The traffic in the Philippines has become so difficult that to just get from somewhere like let's I'll give you an example. Like let's have a distance from between downtown to here to Podster to Boscia. It took me what 20 30 minutes to get here. In the Philippines, you multiply that by 3.
Wow, it would be worse than Dubai because
Yeah,
Dubai's traffic sucks
yeah,
too.
because the roads are smaller and the last time I was back home. That was in June. That was in June of this year.
Mhm.
And I experienced this firsthand because my wife and I have a house in the countryside,
Mhm.
but my side of the family lives in the central region, like
Mhm.
the big city.
Mhm.
To get from the countryside, like for the Filipinos out there, so we live in Bulacan. So from Bulacan to Rizal, where my family lived, it took us half a day.
Oh,
Half a day.
oh wow,
Yeah.
that's int.
It was fast going from the countryside going into the city, but as soon as you reach city limits, it becomes
The
a slow
traffic.
grind. Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
traffic.
I saw on the news, I don't know how reliable it is, but there are some reports that Filipinos have resorted to just walk.
Because driving just takes
Yeah,
forever. It takes literally half a
yeah,
day, as you mentioned.
and I think there are a lot of there's a lot of research that says like, okay, maybe this is because it's easier to get a car in the Philippines, like it's easier to take out a loan. I mean, but the roads don't support that much cars, and plus the public transport system still hasn't kept up. The road system hasn't kept up. I mean, our version of Sheikh Zayed Road, we call it EDSA. I think it was roughly three lanes or so, and
So it's much
I mean
narrower.
Sheikh Zayed Road has like 3 lanes, like here on one side.
Yeah, so commute, I guess that was
Yeah,
some
yeah.
a big thing,
The
a big
commute, yeah,
difference.
the commute, the pay is also different. I mean, because obviously here we're getting paid in dirhams, and every day, this next part, I see it with my wife, like because we both send money back home, and the exchange rate keeps on getting higher. For us, that's remitting there. It's good, but for those who are living there,
It's
that's
not good.
terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time in the news. I think that was roughly 6 months ago or so. Onions became so expensive in the Philippines, we had to make a video about it.
It,
Onions,
so
like
you made a video about here in the like for
yeah.
Emirates Love because
The
of
very first line
how
of that video was, "I'm holding gold."
what?
Yeah, it got to that point, and there were even some news reports of Filipinos coming from here, living in Dubai. They would fly into Manila carrying luggage bags worth of onions.
Onions.
Yeah, and then the immigration would confiscate them for some weird reason,
Reason.
because no, 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 like they don't want anybody to get the upper hand, so to speak.
Wow. So, I mean, I didn't even imagine that it would come down to like onions being
Yeah,
more
onions.
expensive. But yeah, I guess there's benefits and there's challenges
Yeah,
in every country that you go
yeah,
to. And so, even coming here, there was obviously, as you said, it
yeah,
was painful, it was difficult. You wanted to go back
yeah.
for lots of
Yeah,
different
because
reasons.
as much as the Philippines is a difficult place to live in, there are some pockets here and there of positives.
What
Like, for
did you
example,
miss the most? Yeah.
what I miss is that in the Philippines, it's very relaxing. Like, you can just, I'll take my recent vacation for example. So in June, we were in the countryside. My wife and I would just walk like 500 meters to, like, and just like pick up random street food. And you'd see a lot of places. You'd see children running around on the street.
Lively.
I doubt it's very safe, but it's very lively. Like, you'd see small businesses, mom and pops, like small garden shops, and then we walked from our house to this place called Angel's Burger. It's one of the greatest Filipino inventions ever. So it's like salt, but like a cheaper version of salt. Because
I
salt is
like
all
the
like
idea
fancy,
of
like.
that. Yeah.
And it's their slogan is burger ng bayan, which is burger of the people.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty much, it's salt, but a very stripped down low cost
Version
version,
of.
and it works.
Wow.
Like,
And it tastes good.
yeah, it tastes
That's
good,
all that
and
matters.
it's like, it's perfect for those late nights when you just want to satisfy a certain craving. I mean,
Exactly.
hey, it's so good that my wife asked her sister to bring some here.
Oh,
And then we
what?
we reheated it, and then
She
we ate
actually
it.
brought burgers.
Yeah,
She brought
yeah,
burgers from
yeah,
the Philippines to the
yeah.
UAE. Wow.
And I've seen that. Like, I think that's one of the hallmarks of being a Filipino expat here, is that, because I've also seen it with my mom. So my mom, when we go back to, when I was still living with them, we would go back to the Philippines, and I would jokingly tell my mom, like, "Ma, binili mo na naman yung buong palengke." So to translate, I just told my mom, "Mom, you just bought the whole fish market." Because in her luggage bag, I mean, it's not clothes. I mean, it's not clothes. It's gonna be sausages, dried fish, some dried mangoes, and then any other thing that she could get cheaper in the Philippines, but it's way expensive here.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's the story of every expert. I feel
It
like
is. It
like
is.
literally my mom once when she came from Pakistan to the U, she brought a whole suitcase full of frozen strawberries.
See.
And okay, it's cheaper there. It's also so much better there. Like
Yeah.
it tastes better
Yeah.
there as well. So every like the sausages, everything that she brought, it probably tastes better
Yeah.
as well in the Philippines. The same thing
Yes,
for
indeed.
us.
Yes, indeed. And if you want to get the same quality here, you have to pay a little hefty sum.
Hefty, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not worth doing
Yeah.
that. So that's like,
I mean, like, for example, Carrefour has this, like, peanut butter machines. Yeah.
yeah.
We have a jar of that from, like, a local market back home that we have. My wife, because if I put my finger on it, like, it'd probably be gone, like, just like that. So I let my wife consume most of it,
Consume it. That's nice of
because of
you.
course she misses the Philippines as much as I do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I think expats they find their way in um, connecting back to their roots,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
especially when you travel back home, there's always something you need to bring
Yeah,
back to the UAE. Like, as you said, one of your Pakistani friends gave you mangoes. That's
yeah.
something that we always bring back. Strawberries, fruit. I feel like fruits is a big thing for us, because I like when I go to Pakistan, I love the fruits there. It's so good. It's so sweet, and I love fruits. I cannot find like you can't even compete. I feel like it's I can't find fruits like that. So yeah, there's perks
Yeah.
to all of that. One thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about you moving here to the UAE, and there were some differences that you obviously noticed, but were was there something similar between Filipino culture and UAE culture that made it easier to adapt?
Yes.
Okay.
I could say that Emiratis are very friendly from the all the Emiratis I've met in my life. I mean, my recent boss, my recent boss is probably up there in terms of my top five greatest bosses.
Wow.
And it got because he was so easy to work with, and
He's
he would,
Emirati.
yeah, he's Emirati. His name is Ahmed Al Malzuki. And whenever I would pitch an idea to him, he would err on the side of caution, because
Of
that's what
course.
bosses do. They look out for you, but he doesn't say it in such a way that a hard no.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't say it in a way
Doesn't
that
like reject it completely, you mean?
that
Demeans you.
demeans you as a
Yeah.
person, but he says, like, this is let me explain it to you from the Emirati lens.
Okay.
Because sometimes there are ideas that are fine in the Filipino lens, but there are ideas
might
for
not
stories
work.
that are not fine in the Emirati lens. But he says it in such a beautiful, constructive way. I still miss it. I miss him a lot.
He's not your boss
Yeah,
anymore?
he's no longer my boss.
Oh, okay.
Such a crying shame.
Oh,
He
that's cute.
he did move. He's moving up in the world.
Okay, well, that's exciting. I
Yeah.
mean, you're the first person on the show to talk so positively about their boss.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I've had
that's
my fair
great.
share of terrible bosses.
Of
So,
course, yeah. In the UAE, you mean?
yeah, in the
Oh
UAE.
yeah, you said you started working here. So
Yeah,
that
I never worked. I never worked a day in the Philippines, and now that I think of it, maybe I should have.
Or why do you say that?
Because I feel like that's also the reason why I couldn't. I feel that I couldn't connect much with most of the Filipinos here,
Oh,
because
okay.
most of them work here, and then work there, and then work here.
Come here, yeah.
So they know the differences between this and that. I don't have that luxury.
Interesting. So, talking about that, when you came to the UAE, did you find the Filipinos here different from back home?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Very. So here, Filipinos are way more obedient.
Okay.
So I say that because in the Philippines there's a lot of I wouldn't like, not petty crimes, but small violations here and there. Like,
Like
you
what?
could be cutting someone in traffic, or
Okay.
like bribing the police to let you off the hook for a speeding ticket. None of those happen here. None. Like,
Yeah.
it's I think it's because Filipinos are very, very respectful, innately respectful, and that's the good thing about being Filipino, that we acknowledge that, okay, we're in another country, we're the visitors here, so let's put our best foot forward. And that speaks a lot, that speaks volumes about the Filipino. Again, like, the most common trait about us, that we're very hospitable, is because
Exactly.
we also know how it feels to be the ones visiting.
Hmm.
Like, we'll extend the red carpet for you, make you feel at home, and my wife and I do that, like, in our house. So we also know how to be good visitors.
Exactly. You know how to be a host and you know how to be a
Yeah,
guest.
thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, so what you were talking about, being hospitable, that's, I feel like that's also something
Yeah.
that maybe you saw here that was similar to your culture. Because I mean, for me, whenever I meet Filipinos here, they're always so fun to
Yeah.
talk to. They're super friendly. It's so easy to talk to
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
right? Like, they're just good conversationalists. And second thing is hospitality.
Yeah.
That's such a big thing. It's an Asian thing perhaps, but it's such a big thing in like Pakistan. It's such a big thing in the UAE. It's such a big thing in
Yeah.
the Philippines. So I think that's one thing that also made us connect so well and coexist so well
Yeah.
here. Would you say?
And yeah, I agree, because also the Emiratis are very welcoming.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're there's like a bajillion of us expats here, but they're absorbing all these culture. It's literally a melting pot here.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively, it means it's hot.
I mean, yeah, in both
so,
ways.
so yeah, I just admire how the Emiratis absorb all this culture and just reflect back. Like, for example, you'd get like a random Emirati, like, say, "Oh, Pave, how are you?" I mean, like, Pave is a very Filipino word. Like, Pave means like buddy.
Wow.
So, and even if I, yeah, okay, if I go to Kawama, and like, and they know exactly what you're Filipino, and then you'd see some Indian or Pakistani cinemas like, oh, pave, how are you? You want to look phone case, yada yada yada. So it's very endearing.
Yeah, it's wholesome.
And that's what I love about Dubai. Like, it's just all these cultures coexisting and having fun. And obviously Filipinos, like, we're like the life of a party, and most of us sing. I mean,
Yeah.
I moonlight as a musician.
How are Filipinos so multi-talented? They do literally everything. It's
I
crazy.
don't even know.
It's crazy.
I don't even know. But if I can take an educated guess, it could be because we're just exposed to it on by media. So I say that because there are, uh, in a Filipino household, there we always sit down on the television, and there would be what we call variety shows.
Mm-hmm.
And in these shows, there are usually cash prizes and inter and game shows, but interspersed between those are music segments, dance segments, and plus, so you have those shows. Plus, you have the karaoke, which is just a hallmark of a Filipino welcome. Like, if you're hosting a party and you don't have
Karaoke.
loud music or a karaoke, like, it's a dead party. And I've experienced it firsthand. Like, there was one time I was hosting some of my friends at home, and we didn't have any ambient noise or music
Mm-hmm.
around, not even from television. We were just like, it was just the sound of silverware and plates. It was so dead. I don't know whether it's different, whether it's the same with Asian cultures, but we just have to have that ambient sound
Sound.
coming to
Yeah.
make it feel like a party. So, okay, I have veered so far away from the main point, but yeah, basically, being exposed in that realm of, you have this on the TV, you have those your aunts and uncles, like, outside singing. I mean, that's how I was exposed,
Mm.
because every single Christmas time, we would go to our ancestral house, and there would be a karaoke outside, and then everyone is encouraged to sing.
Wow.
And then, of course, and then it plays with the Filipinos' innate shines, like, say, "Oh, I don't want to sing, I don't want to sing." But then they actually grab the mic and then
And then they're the
belt out the
best singer there.
single most amazing thing.
Yeah, right. Like, even growing up, so I grew up in Alain,
Mhm.
and yeah, my circles included Pakistanis, included Filipinos, Arabs, and the Filipinos were always the ones who were playing basketball, who were singing, who were good at dancing. Like, they were a part of everything, and I was like, how do they do it? And you make a good point that
Yeah,
it's their upbringing. I
yeah,
guess it's the
yeah.
culture that you get exposed to that
Yeah.
early on, and then you adopt to it. So
And just to mention about the basketball bit, because in a Filipino community, you would always have a activity center that's built by the local government.
okay.
So it's always uh in the middle of town.
Okay.
So you have your stores on the side, and there would be a basketball court right in the middle. And the basketball court is significant in those communities because it's a multi-purpose thing.
Yeah.
It's not just a sports place.
Oh,
They
okay.
actually hold
Event.
community events there. So, if you have your donation drives, school graduations
Mm.
would happen there. And in my own personal experience, like, I was inducted as a Boy Scout in a basketball court.
So it's very versatile.
Yeah,
Like, it's used for
yeah,
so there's like a significance to the court.
yes,
There's more meaning to it than just
exactly, yeah,
basketball
yeah,
in a way. Interesting. So one thing that I was thinking about, because you also mentioned this, that it's so beautiful in Dubai that we get to live peacefully with South Asians, with Indians,
yeah.
Pakistanis, Filipinos, all of us. Have you found similarities between the Filipino culture and also maybe Indian culture, Pakistani culture, South Asian cultures in general?
Oh, good question. I never quite thought about it, but I would take a gander and say that Indians, Pakistanis, and Filipinos, just because we're all Asian,
Mm-hmm.
we have this drive to be good at whatever we do, because you know because we acknowledge the fact that many people are relying on us, are counting on us. Like, we're not just here to have fun and we're not just here to have fun, but rather we're here because at the end of every month we have to send money back home, and we hope that whatever we send back home is building towards something, striving towards something. I mean, in my in my years of because in my years of just talking to people randomly, I mean, one of the stories that come to mind right now was that my mom has this driver, yeah, the company car driver, and I just chatted him up, and he said that he has a house back in India, and that to me is the most amazing thing about here in the UAE. Like you could be a driver, you could be a cleaner, a nanny, or what have you, and I am damn sure that you have something built back home. And we made even and another example is that is we did a street interview with a nanny who works in Jumeirah. He has two houses. No, was it two? I think he has two, three houses back home.
Well.
And I'm like, wow. I mean, I work a proper job, and I haven't. I It took me a while to have that. So I think that's the similarities between the cultures, is that when we want something, we strive, we work hard like three times over
Yeah.
to reach that.
Yeah. Very driven.
Yeah,
The individuals
and
are
it's
very
very
driven.
family oriented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, the one thing that I personally noticed growing up was the family oriented
Mm-hmm.
part, that all of us, we really do care about family, and family comes first regardless of what. We all have,
Mm-hmm.
every individual that I've met, who works here, who's a Filipino or an Indian or Pakistani, they have a goal that they're striving for, and usually it's related to their family. It's to, make sure that their family is okay back
Mm-hmm.
home, make sure that we're able to support them back home. So the family culture is so prevalent
Mm-hmm.
here across
Mm-hmm.
all the different people
Yeah.
that live here. You know what I mean? So that, I mean, even for you, I know when I went to your Instagram page, the first thing in your bio was mentioning your wife
Yeah.
and your child, and yeah, so I was like, that's definitely something that I
Yeah.
resonate with. Yeah.
And as an additional point, we all know how to have a good time.
Yeah.
We all know how to. I mean,
True.
have you seen those TikTok videos of either Indians or Pakistanis celebrating whenever either party wins in cricket? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
claim to be a cricket expert, but I've seen the videos. You guys know how to celebrate.
Yeah, we're crazy
Yeah.
about it. We know how to have
Yeah,
fun. That's such a
exactly.
big. And the one thing about Pakistanis, Indians, South Asians is that you don't need to put us in a specific. We don't need to be in a specific location to have fun. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be like a party
Yeah.
environment. Literally on the streets, we'll just start dancing.
Yeah. You find you find there's no proper place. Any place could be where you have a good time, because
Exactly.
happiness can't be contained in a certain place.
Exactly. And like the other day, this reminds me of the other day when, so it was me, my sister, and my best friends who are Indians. I am Pakistani. And we were at this little shop in a lane, this
Hmm.
little corn dogs place.
Oh, nice.
And the people who run the shop, they were Filipinos. So we came in, we sat down, we were just eating. And then one of the girls, she was connected to the speakers of the shop. She started playing, I think it was a Justin Bieber song. And she started singing, like just casually singing. And then we heard it. We also slowly started singing, and then all of us just started singing so loud, like we were screaming and then she just kept, it was literally like a party, and it was just like 4 or 5 of
Yeah.
us, but we were singing like crazy. And that moment, and imagine, it was me, Pakistani, Indian, Filipinos, all of us just having such a good time. And it was in the most random location.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny little restaurant.
See,
So
see, that what you said is the greatest, is one of the finest examples of why the UAE is a good place. Like, there's only a few countries in the world where you can do that,
yeah.
where you can see unfiltered pure happiness. Finding joy in very small things.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I love as well. Like, um, I've learned so much,
Mm-hmm.
not only about my culture but about all these other
Yeah.
cultures, and it teaches you that at the end of the day we're all human
Mm-hmm.
beings. Like we all there's so many similarities
Exactly.
between us, and that's the beautiful thing about living in such a diverse
Mm-hmm.
country. And as much as I love talking about like the positives, I do want to talk a little
Yeah.
bit about the like the challenges and the negatives. We kind of touched upon it in the beginning.
True.
But if you had to, pinpoint the biggest difficulty of being in a country with so many different cultures, what would it be?
I think it also goes back to the melting pot aspect of it. It's a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
because as much as we all coexist here, there are times when that all goes awry, like it goes haywire.
Mm.
Like imagine a scenario where you're explaining a concept to a colleague, and she comes from a different background, she comes from a different culture, and she doesn't understand the vision of what I'm going for. So
Mm-hmm.
immediately the concept gets shut down. So, because so Dubai's pros is also Dubai's con, so to
Interesting.
speak. That's about it, really. That's
Interesting.
about.
Yeah. Um, One thing that I remember you saying was that when you met the Indians, Pakistanis, they use this term. What was it? Paya? To say buddy.
Oh, kabayan.
Oh, they said kabayan? I thought you said
Pave. Yeah.
pave. Yeah, pave.
Pare. Oh yeah, I have this speech defect. My R's turn into W's.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's pave. So Pare, pear.
Pare?
Yeah.
Okay, got it, got
Yeah.
it. And I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
kabayan. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Can you tell me
Yeah.
what
So
that
kabayan
means?
is a if you know, you know. It's a Filipino check, basically. So the very first time I encountered that, I was in airport terminal one. No, 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 terminal three. I was in terminal three, and my dad couldn't figure out where the hell was the immigration line was. So he saw this guy who looked Filipino, and he just said like in an inquiring tone like kabayan, and then the guy says yeah. So and then he proceeds to speak Filipino,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no, I mean, literally the word translates to my fellow man, my countryman. But in the UAE context of it, it's pretty much a are are you Filipino? It's just a short form of it. Like, you ask kabayan, and then is if the guy says yes or no. If the guy says yes, then what I usually do, I immediately switch to Filipino because it's more easier to
Of course.
communicate and
Yeah, you
articulate
connect
myself.
better. And so, is this only a thing in the UAE, or like most
It's an
Filipinos who travel abroad, I guess, use this
I
term?
would guess it's used everywhere where
Okay.
there are Filipinos,
Interesting. Yeah.
but I've only ever seen it in practice in the UAE context.
Yeah, because I hear it all the
Yeah,
time. I was curious to know if it's offensive if someone who's non-Filipino says
I
that
I
word.
haven't seen that though. I'd love to see it in person.
Oh, like if someone said
Yeah,
kaba,
if a non-Filipino said that to a Filipino,
would you get offended? Like if I said that
I
to you?
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I
No.
mean, I'd see it as, oh, here's a foreigner appreciating Filipino culture. That's how I would see it.
Perceive it. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So I guess the significance behind the word is
Yeah,
basically to connect back to your culture,
yeah.
connect to
Or
Filipinos,
to find
to find the
find help in a city of foreigners,
foreigners. Yeah.
where because sometimes Filipinos get mistaken. I myself have been mistaken as Indonesian, Malaysian, Pakistani. I forgot Assamese,
Assamese.
Assam.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I forgot. I used to keep a note of like there were 11 nationalities in that note that I left.
Oh,
None
really?
of them ever guessed Filipino.
None of them guess
None.
Filipino? Like when you came here in the
Yeah.
UAE?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was even this job interview I had where this guy said, "Oh, you don't sound Filipino," and it went over my head. So I just put a smile and I said, "Oh yeah, that's what you get when you binge watch Star Wars at when you were since you were 7." But then in retrospect, now that I'm talking to you, I realized there was kind of some racial undertones there, because then you begin to ask, okay, what should a Filipino sound like? I mean, we don't all sound like, "Hi mom, sir, welcome to McDonald's." So
Everyone has
yeah,
like their own unique way of
exactly.
speaking.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the Filipino accent.
Of course
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
Yeah, of course not. That like this is I find this talk of accents quite ridiculous
yeah,
because it's literally just a way of speaking, and of
exactly.
course everyone would have a different way of speaking.
Yeah,
Like why is that so hard to comprehend?
yeah.
Yeah, so of course there's nothing
I
wrong with
think
it.
it only works in a context of voiceovers because my boss told me that okay, Keith, you speak super duper fast, so speak slow. Speak a little bit more slowly,
Hmm.
so that it sounds more Filipino. It doesn't make sense to me up until this very day. I mean, to me, I just speak this way because, as Nitu said, I kind of have ADHD maybe, so my brain works way faster than my mouth. So that's why I might stutter.
But yeah, you speak fast as that's true, but like it like in a good way. Like I don't think that's wrong or
Yeah,
good or
so
whatever.
sometimes
It's
I have to
just
check myself. Okay, did the person I'm talking to understand
no,
what
we're
I'm talking about?
understanding. Don't worry. Don't worry. But yeah. So what you were mentioning that there was like a racial undertone there.
Yeah, because then the racial undertone comes from the fact that okay, how would the Filipino sound? It begs the question in your head like how should a Filipino sound
Exactly. How
then?
am I supposed to sound
Like
like?
what do you want what do you expect me to sound?
Exactly. So, do you think that because we live in a country with so many different cultures, one of the problems may be these racist remarks? Has that happened often or?
I wouldn't go out and say that it's racist, but it's
Mhm.
kind of like how do you say it? Racism that's kind of uncalled for.
Got it.
Because again,
It's like micro.
it's a double edged sword. Like we're all working with different cultures here, and what could be fine for my culture is not fine for you.
True.
Case in point, I'll tell you a story. So my dad comes from the boomer generation of Filipinos. So he grew up on action movies and then so basically in some action movies like you'd have an African American person like
Mm-hmm.
starring. So my dad usually throws out terms like oh yeah, the word.
Oh, okay.
Let's
Like,
keep it that way. Let's keep it that way. And he thinks it's fine. And also, there's this place in the Philippines called Negros, and it's spelled Negros.
mm,
So when you're American, you pronounce it the way you should pronounce it. For us, it's a place.
it's just a place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's no correlation. It's just the name of the place.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of like low key racist in that way. And also because the Philippines was colonized by the Americans. Like so the history is so Philippines and then the Spanish folks came in, ruled us for 333 years. The Americans came in after that, and there was even this fun thing that happened there. So at when a country rules you for 300 years, there's a point where you say, you know what, enough is enough. So we stay the Filipinos stage a revolt. They revolted against Spain, but behind the scenes, Spain was talking to the Americans. Basically, they told each other that, okay, you know what, Uncle Sam, let's fake a war. Let's pretend that we're at war with each other, and then we'll give you the Philippines hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, I
Like
didn't.
we don't want to lose to the Filipinos, but we can lose to
To
you.
you, yeah.
So basically, we got bought out. We got bought out. This it's like today we were shooting at the Spanish folks. The next day we were shooting at the Americans.
Americans. Wow.
And so yeah, the Americans ruled us, and then because of that, we got into the Second World War, and then the Japanese came in. The Japanese occupied us. The Americans came back, bombed the country to shit, and then when all was said and done, the Americans was like, you know what, you guys are free now. It's like you're sitting in like this bombed out like Manila, and then yeah, you got your independence now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the freedom bucks. So yeah,
Ridiculous.
so what I'm going there. The reason why I went there is that the American influence on the Philippines is very big.
Mm.
In and that includes rap culture.
Oh, okay.
So that's why in many parts of the Philippines, like we like to listen to West Coast rap, and with that comes the N word. So we don't know most of us don't know the history of that. Like it's
Mm.
improving now, but there are times. I mean, I told my Sudanese friend, if you want to go to the Philippines, be aware that you might hear the N word, but it's not meant as
In a
as a dog whistle,
derogatory.
as a in a derogatory way. It's just that we learned that word by listening to rap music,
Mm.
and we just think it's a good thing because if the people are singing it, then it's nice.
Then it must be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of similar in Pakistan too, not the rap culture, but in the sense that there are some words that they use and they're not aware that there's a history behind
Oh,
it and
really? I
there's
didn't
something
know this.
associated with it. Because I remember when I would go back to Pakistan, my cousins, they would call me the N word, like, and they think it's like buddy.
Yeah.
They think that's the
Yeah.
word. So
It's the same
I
thing.
understand their intention, but they don't realize that
Yeah.
there's history behind it and things like that. So there is some lack of
Yeah.
knowledge there and lack of awareness there. But I had no idea that there's like this big rap culture
Yeah.
that exists in
Yeah,
the
there's a
Philippines.
big. I mean, it just goes hand in hand, like because Filipinos love to sing. So one of the avenues that goes to is rap. I mean, if you have the American influence, it's pretty much automatic. But it's developed to a point that there was a time when I was in high school. There was this YouTube series called Flip Top, and it would just involve. Have you seen 8 Mile by Eminem?
No,
With Eminem,
no.
it's pretty much that. So you have two rappers roasting each other,
Okay, okay.
and that was one of the things that I watched when I
When
was a
you were
kid.
growing up.
And then it even got to a point where in when we were hanging out as friends, we would copy the same thing, and we would just
You'd have
recite.
a rap battle?
Yeah, we have a rap battle, but none of it was original. We were
Oh,
copying
you
lines
were
from the
copying
YouTube
the
video.
line. That's funny. So, yeah, so that means both American culture played a role
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
influences, but also the Spanish
yeah.
culture in a
Of
way.
course. Like
Yeah.
333 years does mean something. I mean, there's a there's a subculture of
Mm.
Filipinos called Chavacanos, and they're from the south, and just they're the equivalent of what the Creoles are in Louisiana.
Mm.
So what the French did with Louisiana,
Mm.
that's what the Spanish did with the Chavacanos. So they come from Zamboanga, and they speak this form of Spanish, and it's so beautiful, and I couldn't understand any of it, but it's so beautiful. I worked with someone before who was Chavacano, and he talked to someone on the phone, and it was like contigo, sí, and it was like whoa. And it's amazing to listen to. I mean,
Yeah.
I would recommend if you can get like a Chavacano guest here.
That'd be so cool.
Single most amazing
Have you
thing.
met some of them here in the UAE as
Yeah.
well? Yeah.
Like I said, like I worked with someone who was
Ah,
Chavacano.
okay, okay, okay. Very
Yeah,
cool. So,
he was an older chap, and he still is a photographer, and yeah, he the language is just beautiful to hear. And
cool.
I mean, it's one of those things that if you haven't been to the Philippines, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You'd think
True.
you
I didn't know
yeah,
that. So,
like you'd think all of us would speak Tagalog, but yeah, go down south, and that's what you'll find.
so it's only that specific region where.
That, and then you have the surnames, like you have De La Cruz,
Oh yeah. That
and then
that
you
exists.
also have the food as well. Like we've done our own fusions of the paella, which is a Spanish dish, and of
But do
course
you call it something else?
no, it's called paella
Oh,
as well.
okay.
And then we also have the most obvious one is adobo. So
Ah,
in Spanish, the word adobo means adobar, to marinate.
yeah.
So the name comes from the Spanish guy, like Antonio Pigafetta. He was the chronicler of the first Spanish expedition to the Philippines.
Okay.
And then when they went there, they saw these meats in clay pots, and it was being fermented. And then so he wrote in his journal, okay, adobo. So, And then the recipe improved over time. They added vinegar, so it was a way to preserve the food.
The food, yeah.
And then now it developed into its own Filipino thing. Like we still use the name adobo, but it's
It's some
so far removed from its Spanish meaning.
interesting.
Because if you go to South America, they'd have a different description of adobo. They have adobo flakes or seasoning. I don't know any of it, but from what I know, it's different from
From your
the adobo in my
interpretation.
mind.
Okay, wow. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of like a specific term, like in, for example, Pakistan or India, that was the where the meaning evolved or changed. I mean, I do know that there's a couple of words that when the British came to India, that was then taken to English. So it came from Hindi
Yeah.
and Urdu, and then it became an English word. Like, for example, I think pajama. That pajama was already a word that we used back in the day. It was like a Hindi Urdu word, and then it turned out to become an English word. Like they started using it. There's a couple of others as well, like bandana.
The food as well.
Oh, the
I
food.
mean, butter
Butter.
chicken. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind when you said unite UK and India in a single sentence.
Is it that's also like UK's national dish, is it?
It, which is
Oh
so.
wait, is it butter chicken or I don't know. It's some
Yeah,
Indian dish. It's an Indian dish.
I know.
Yeah, but it's kind of bizarre to me, but
Yeah.
makes sense.
And because in the Philippines, our national clothing is also heavily influenced by Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for guys, it's called the babang Tagalog. I'm pretty sure I butchered that R right there. So it's a very thin polo
Okay.
that's made of pineapple fibers. It's so thin that you have to wear an undershirt inside it.
Oh, because it
And
is.
if you're not used to it, it's very starchy. And then for the ladies, it's this very detailed ensemble. So you have a shirt, and then you wear a sort of scarf or sash,
On top.
and then a very huge dress.
Yeah, I've seen the female
So
outfit. Yeah.
that's the Spanish influence on
I
Filipino
didn't know
culture.
that. Okay.
So and also some of the traditions really. Like
Okay.
there's a tradition in the Philippines called kundiman. So and the Spanish also have their version of it called Havana. So basically, I'm pretty sure my history is wrong there, but the point is, the whole concept of that is, if a guy likes a girl, he would go. This guy would ask his friends out, like, you know what, let's all go to this girl's house. He would take out a guitar, he would sing, and in hopes that the girl would open her window.
Mm.
And if the girl opens her window, then yeah, all is well and good. Then it's like
wow.
she's reciprocating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the love, the affection, I guess.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that come to mind, like
And that's a
with the
similar
Spanish.
thing in Spain.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much, and also the religion. I mean, it was the Spanish who brought the Christianity to the Philippines, and now like the Philippines is pretty much like the one of the sole Catholic countries in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
So that is their biggest mark, if I may say so.
So was it then difficult? So this is I'm kind of moving off topic, but
Yeah.
was it difficult to adjust in an Islamic country,
No.
being a Christian? No.
Believe it or not, no, because there are some Catholic churches here,
Yes.
and there are also Christian churches here, which is the American version of things, like the Protestant churches. So, so it was very easy, and also the fact that it's very open, like it's not like hidden in some corner, like you'd go to some neck of the woods here in Dubai. No, it's out there. There's a church in Odmeta, there's a church in Jebel Ali, and they look like what churches look like in the Philippines, with
So
all the showmanship, with all the pizzazz, with all the ceremony, the rites and whatnot. And again, I mean, that's awesome about Dubai, right? Where in the Middle East could you find something similar?
yeah, I guess I know a lot of my friends who also moved here. One of them moved from Brazil, and he's also Catholic. So one of the big things that he was worried about was this exact thing
Yeah.
about whether he'll find a church that's accessible and that's Catholic and all of that. But he was pleasantly surprised when he came here, and he was like, "Yeah, it's like there's a big Christian community. Like it's as you said, it's open. Like you don't have to hide anything. You don't have to hide your religion. None of that. It's quite accessible for everyone, which I agree, definitely love." we're almost over. Time is over
Man, I keep
so
talking already.
no. But one thing before we end, I
Yeah.
did want to ask a little bit about, so we kind of touched upon stereotypes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we were talking about, so there's some positive stereotypes, there can be negative stereotypes, but stereotypes exist of
Mm-hmm.
every
Obviously,
culture,
yeah.
right? So what do you think are the biggest stereotypes of Filipinos here in the UAE, and how has that affected you? Like, have people have people looked at you negatively in a way because of it?
Okay. I haven't had any experiences with negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
However, stereotypes in general, like
Yeah.
so, Filipinos are very friendly, which we are.
Yes.
I mean, and there are some, and I can touch on one very negative stereotype. So, Filipinos have this culture of utang na loob, and it's a generational thing. So basically, if parents work their asses off to provide for their kids,
Yeah.
right? So when that kid comes to working age, that kid now has to give back his or her earnings to the parents. It's kind of a way of giving back. Like it's nice on the outset, but then it can easily get very toxic
Of course.
because then the parents can suddenly rely on the kid, and how do you say it? And it comes to a point where parents groom their kids to be retirement plans. Like my
Mm,
retirement plan is not to have a business, not to have a job, not to be self-sustaining, but rather my kid. My kid will provide for me.
for me,
So then that begs the question: okay, how will this kid provide for himself? How
himself.
will this kid raise a family? How will this kid have a wife and child? So as much as family comes first for Filipinos, that concept is very easily twisted
Mm,
because parents can use that. Then again, what about the goals of the kid?
of the individual, yeah.
Well, thankfully, we're coming to a day and age where it's more where that's being broken up, being simplified, and parents are more open. Parents are more open minded here, and I think that's owing to the fact that they get exposed to different ways of life here.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's so true about, I guess, a collectivistic culture or a
Yeah.
family culture. Like it's the same in Pakistan, where it's beautiful that we focus so much on
Mm-hmm.
family and family comes first. But it can become
Mm-hmm.
toxic at some point when you are everything that you do is
Mm-hmm.
only for family, and you can't pursue your individual goals in
Mm-hmm.
a way, and your personality doesn't fully
Yeah.
develop because it's completely molded by
Yeah.
family in a
Yeah.
way. So trying to find the balance between the two is 100% a challenge. But living in a country that where you get exposed to so many
Mm-hmm.
different ways of
Mm-hmm.
living, as you said, it becomes
Yeah.
easier. Like even our parents become more understanding, more
Yeah. Exactly.
open-minded. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're very blessed
Yeah.
that we got that chance. Like
Yeah.
I'm very blessed that about that too.
And to the Filipinos in the camera, I'm not saying that you should not provide for your parents.
Of
That's not what I
course,
said.
of
What I
course,
said is we have to set healthy boundaries. Like I'm not saying
exactly.
don't give your mom money, don't give your dad money, don't take them out. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is set boundaries. Like keep something for yourself.
Exactly.
Like I'll go back to that trip to Ukraine that I had. I saved for a year while I was paying for my brother's tuition, while I was helping my mom out with rent. I saved around 10 grand, was it, for a year just to go to that trip. So
Wow.
it is possible. And by the way, to give you all context on that, I was earning 5 grand.
Wow. So, yeah, that's such a great
Yeah,
example that like it's definitely possible, and it's not to say that don't like completely forget about your
yeah.
family. Of course not. Like because this is something that I also talk about here in the podcast, which is about like trying to balance family but also personal goals. And some people think of it negatively. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you just want to dismiss your family. Obviously not. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just that you are also a human being, and you also
Yeah.
have your individual goals. And that trip to Ukraine then helped you a lot
It
later
did. It
on,
did.
right?
Yeah.
Like you wrote a story about it. Your boss was impressed, and then it helped you in your career, helped you personally. So yeah, just trying to find the balance between all of that is just crucial,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, so thank you very
Thanks so much
much.
as well.
I love this. It was a lot of new learnings, a lot of things that I haven't talked about on the podcast
Yeah.
before. So I'm really glad that I did. I hope you enjoyed it
I
too.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yay. So,
Actually, I forgot to ask you. Like,
yeah,
I forgot to because you have Filipino friends, and
yeah.
I don't know whether it's just here, but when a Filipino teaches a foreigner our language, we would always teach you the bad
Bad
ones.
words.
Is that how you learned?
To be honest, now I don't remember the words she taught me. It was like in middle school, but I'm pretty sure it was the bad words.
Ah,
Like I'm
okay.
pretty sure. I agree. Like it's not just in Philippines, even in ours. I feel like when someone asks us
Yeah.
to teach them words, you start
Yeah.
with the bad words, the dirty, because like those are the fun words, you know.
Yeah, those are the ones. Like,
Yeah.
and
So
they have this expression like, if you know the bad words, that's half the battle.
exactly. So unfortunately, I've forgotten some of the words. You can jog my memory by teaching me
All right.
the next set of words.
All right.
Gutu?
I know jaldi. Jaldi,
Jaldi?
jaldi ka wo.
Do you know what it means?
Yeah, faster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
like hurry
So
up.
you don't know the bad word yet, or do
I
you?
know, but I don't want to say it on camera.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you can if you
Yeah,
want
we'll
to.
do it off the record.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We
Thank you so
always
much, Mahal.
end with a little cheers.
All right, mine is done, but we can do it.
It's perfect. Yay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mabuhay.
I think I didn't want to talk about the marriage, the weddings that you went to, but it was already recorded.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that like really quick?
Yeah.
Because that was a good point that we can address, right? Like so you mentioned that you went to a wedding
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I did.
India.
Yeah.
You experienced an Indian wedding the first
It
time
was
you've experienced
wild.
that. Can you tell me a little bit about how different that experience was?
So, first of all, again, like a Filipino wedding lasts a day, just a day, and that wedding that I went to ran for 3 days. It was so. I mean, you got a variety show for the couple. You got the holiday as we discussed earlier, and then you have the wedding proper. I mean, that's exhaust. I feel bad for the couple. I mean, congratulations to they have a kid now, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, they have a
congrats to
kid. They have a
them.
beautiful daughter now.
Oh,
So,
cute.
but then back then I was younger. It was all eye opening. I never saw it as exhausting or tiresome. It was you gotta understand it from my age back then. I was young and
How old are you?
I was in my mid 20s,
Okay.
and I was so curious with the world because my dad's greatest advice to me was, see the world, explore the world, see how others are living, because your truth is different from the truth of others. So you owe it to yourself to see those truths. So when I saw that, it was very magic. It was surreal, and I couldn't. I know it was a good thing, but I just couldn't describe it. I just couldn't this. I can only describe it as beautiful, like the
Wow.
whole ceremony, and because it's so far removed from my initial idea of what a wedding is like. The
Yeah.
Hollywood image, like, there's a dress, there's a wedding, kiss the bride, car with cans. It it was so different,
Yeah.
but and it's great because I that time I got to see how another culture expresses
Celebrate.
celebrates love, celebrates two persons.
Oh, that's so beautiful. The way you put it is so
Yeah.
beautiful. And you probably also saw how Indians then have fun as well, as we
Yes.
were talking
Yeah.
about earlier. So they were probably dancing a
Yeah.
lot. That was a big that's a good that's so but so that's probably what you saw a lot
Yeah.
there as well. That's really beautiful, and I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah.
It is very
I love to
different.
see the Pakistani side of things, though.
Yes, you
You
have
know,
to visit
I owe
Pakistan.
it to myself to be bipartisan.
Yes, please. So please do visit Pakistan as well. I mean, for we always have a wedding. Like my cousins
Mhm.
always. So if you ever visit, I will invite you to one of my cousins'
Yes,
weddings,
please.
and you will
Yes,
experience that.
please.
It's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, my wife and I would love that.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And yeah, I think one of the things that I do love about our culture is our weddings.
Mhm.
Like no matter how exhausting it is, I understand it is very tiring. It's a series of
Mhm.
days, but it's just the whole family coming together and everyone like
Mhm.
everyone's you forget about all your worries in life. Like you're just there for that week, and you're just dancing and you're just having fun, and you're with like the people that you love the most. It's so fun. You said that you kind of feel bad for the bride and groom. It is true that usually the bride and groom enjoy their wedding after their wedding's over. So when they actually see the wedding pictures,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh wow, that was
As
great."
someone who got married, yes.
Oh, even for you, was it like
because
that?
I got married in Georgia, so it was a different set of rules. So,
Uh-huh.
that was another wedding, that different kind of wedding I experienced.
Yeah.
So we got married in a civil hall, and then I didn't know it about Georgian culture back then, but so after the wedding ceremony, the organizers took us out for a photo shoot, and what I didn't know was that in Georgia, weddings are a pretty big deal. So imagine my surprise that we're newly married, we're doing all these we're posing for photos, and then these group of like Georgian teenagers like walks up to my wife and just ask for selfies, like, oh, you're so awesome, you're so beautiful, can we take a selfie? And I was looking at it like, what is going on? And then the organizer sees my probably sees
Confused face.
reads my mind and says, "Oh, here in our culture, like, when a woman gets married, it's a very big deal. She's like a celebrity." And
Wow.
that became even more true, as if the teenagers weren't enough. When we were walking back to our Airbnb, I was still suited and booted. My wife was still in her wedding gown, and our Airbnb was in this narrow street, surrounded by restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and it was still day. It was still day. So, and then there was like a few people here and there, and some diners, obviously. So our driver dropped us off at the end of the street, so we had to walk that a fair distance, about 50 meters or so. That 50 meters, my wife was she was receiving all this.
Wow. So wait, no one cared about the groom
Yeah.
then?
Yeah, no one cared about me. It was her day. It was like,
I mean, the bride is
yeah,
like,
and
I
she was
feel like
walking
the main
barefoot, by the way.
Oh my
She was
god,
barefoot.
she was the star of the
she
show.
just gave up on the heels. But everybody on that street was like, "Oh, congratulations! We're so happy for you."
That's so cute.
And it was like the single most magical but yet unexpected thing that ever happened.
That's such a nice memory too.
Yeah,
It's
it
of
is,
your
yeah.
wedding. That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that's a thing in Georgia. I don't know how it would be in. I don't know. I don't think people come and take selfies with you, but when you do see like brides or grooms like walking around the streets, like people congratulate you a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly.
Like that's a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
thing. So weddings are a very blessed occasion in our culture. So, and you saw that it's the same for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. The last thing I want to know is, what was the biggest culture shock you faced when you visited India?
India, the traffic.
Oh, the
The
traffic.
traffic. Yes. Because Philippines is already traffic as it is. But nothing in the Philippines has prepared me for what I would see in India. I was in a rickshaw, and I could literally throw my hand out to the other car, and I could touch the person. I could high five that person on the in traffic. At least in the Philippines, there's still some fair
Some
distance.
distance.
But never that. Like, high five. I never tried though. But it was like, it's so close. It gave me an anxiety attack. But they never touch. I'm like, what sorcery is this?
There's no sense of lanes. I've never
There
been
is.
to India, but
Yeah.
I know in Pakistan, I would assume it's similar. In Pakistan, there's no sense of lanes. Like people they're just going wherever they can. Wherever they can fit the little spaces, they will go. And one thing we always say in Pakistan is that if you're a driver who's driven in Pakistan and you know how to drive in Pakistan, you can drive anywhere in the world. We
Okay.
always say this.
Nice.
Probably the same in India.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the great words of the stand-up comedian Gabriel Iglesias, he says in one of his specials, in India there's no such thing. He says that if there's no lane, you create a lane. That's his accent, by the way, not mine.
Awesome. That's the best way to end this episode. Thank you very
Yeah,
much
thank you so
once
much, man.
again.
It's an honor.
Perfect.